Welcome to tutorial number 16. In this tutorial I'm going to cover three main features. One is the enhanced SQL browser. The second one is a cool little new feature called counters, and then the third one is a really cool feature. That's probably my favorite feature in the software so far, which is called Mind Wander. So let's just get right into it and start with the SQL browser. And you see here's the database viewer. So you see there's a new field here called SQL Select that wasn't in there before, and what you can do with this is pretty much write your own SQL queries. So for example, if I click on the people table here, it will pretty much show me all the stuff that's in the people table here. And so if I want to narrow this down a little bit, I can say, okay, select what fields I want to select. First, last, from people, right? I can say run, and that's a standard SQL statement. Of course, I see here two columns, first and last, which are the ones I have selected. And now I can use standard SQL syntax to narrow this down a little bit. For example, I could say where last equals Doe, for example, and I have two people with the last name Doe, Jane and John. So if I run this, I expect I get two rows, and yes, that's correct, right? So again, this is more for the geeky users amongst you that want to go directly against the database. You can easily sift through the data in the database. Of course, keep in mind that a lot of the data in the database is encrypted, right? So if you go, for example, into a day, which has a lot of things in here, you will find that the actual journal entry, which is this here, is encrypted, right? So you won't be able to see the plain text, of course, in here. So there's some limitations to it, but this is just to give you easy access to the database. So now let's go to some the two features here that normal users, and quote normal users, will use a lot. So the one cool little feature I'll show you is called counters. So this opens up this empty window here, and this allows you to count things. Now that sounds pretty simple and stupid, but this is mostly for motivation. So to show you an example, let's say a user of the software wants to stop smoking, and they want to say, I want to count the days of not smoking, right? And you say, okay, dimension is most likely physical health, and you say add. So you get this little billboard here, and it shows here that counter was started today, which is September 29th, and the counter is 0. So now what is this good for? The only thing this is really good for, if you want to keep motivating yourself by telling yourself how many days you've already made it by not smoking, right? Every day you go in here and you are true to your goal, you just you go up here one, right? And after a while, this goes up. Of course, you can go down as well, right? So, and then every day, you go back in here, you can see, okay, I've already made it 7 days. Now let's say I'm on the 8th day, boom, you go up here, right? And this is just a little motivational tool to help you stay on task with mostly your resolutions, right? Could also say, for example, days of meditation, right? So say you want to start meditation, you want to start to meditate. Let's say this is more the spiritual dimension. Where do we have that? Spiritual. And you add this, right? See a different color here, and you can click this here as well, and if you want to remove counters, you click on this little X, right? And as you want to delete this, yes, so it will disappear, right? And if you say if this was the smoking goal, right? Let's say you fell off the wagon, smoked again, you reset the counter back to 1 and start at 1 or 0, right? And again, this is really just to keep you motivated to pursue your goals or stay with your resolutions, right? So a little feature here that's actually quite useful. So now let's get to some feature that is new in this version that I use a lot and that I find pretty cool. That's called a Mind Wander feature. And before we use this, let me show you how to set this up. So let's go to Preferences. And in Preferences, you see another new feature is here. If you put things in here, it shows you the zodiac. That's new. And but let's go to the Mind Wander features we're going to talk about here. And you see here, there's a preview of the Mind Wander feature here. And you can say a couple things here. I can make this a little bit faster or slower, and my machine is quite slow right now because I'm taping this video. Usually it's a bit more fast than this, but let's say the animation here, let's do this relatively fast. And here you can see, we see how later in the demo how this works, how quickly you want to add objects, and you can also change the size of the font, and you can set a sound that keeps playing while you're mind wandering. And again, you'll see in a second here what mind wandering is. And here you can also say what you want to include in your mind wandering, right? People, let's include people, tags, ideas, notes, projects probably not as much because they don't change much, mood certainly, maybe goals. Let's click all this stuff here since we don't have that much in our database here yet. So these are the objects you want to include, and then also there's a wander algorithm. So you can either say standard, which includes everything, or you can say I want to only include recent stuff, 30, 60, 90, 180, 360 days, right? So let's leave this as standard. And so that's our preset now. And now when you actually start the mind wander function, so you see this window here shows up, and you see this little sound. And let me do one thing here. You heard this little sound, which is great. I'm using this a lot, which is a little sound as you mind wander, and you can show the, switch this off here. I'll switch this off now for the demo so you can hear me talk. When I use this feature, I actually like the sound playing in the background. So you see this mind wander, all this pretty much does, it shows you in a little window, all these so-called thoughts that have accumulated in your organizer here over time, right? And this is pretty much the stuff that you see that we have entered through previous lessons, right? And the cool thing with this is in my own journal, I think I have about 4,000 thoughts now. And this is a really, really cool feature. Oftentimes, how do you mind wander? You just sit there and stuff is going through your head, right? The more stuff you have entered into your organizer and journal, the more stuff can pop up here. And I find this really refreshing. I use this every morning, for 5 minutes, listening to the sound and having the software randomly pick thoughts from what have accumulated and visualize this on the screen, right? One thing you can do here is I press this now here full screen. My screen is fairly large, so this will pretty much go outside of the boundary here, right? So you can also pretty much capture your full screen here as you mind wander. I do a full screen mind wander as I'm doing this. So imagine this, you're just sitting in front of a black screen, you're hearing the sound in the background, and you spend 5 minutes at the beginning of your day or the end of the day, whenever you wish, to let your mind wander. And in case you wonder why there's a little airplane flying through the screen here, I just thought it was cute. And if you have any other ideas what else you want to see on the screen, balls hopping around or whatnot, right, just let me know, and we'll add some more graphical gimmicks into this, right? And this is a really cool feature. Like I said before, I'm using that a lot, right? And again, this is fairly decent speed here now. My computer is pretty busy right now with taping this video. Usually this is very smooth animation, right? So it's a really cool feature. So let's close this. To conclude, in this lesson 16, we had covered the new SQL, improved SQL browser, the click counter, and again, my favorite feature in the software, which is mind wandering. So thank you for your time, and we'll see you in the next tutorial.